Okay. Now I'll send it out.
Yeah. I heard it the first time.
Okay, I'm just going to Okay. Welcome, Bruchim Habayim, everyone, to the grand opening of the new Beis Medrash for Crown Heights, this side of Crown Heights. To start off with the ceremonies, I'm just going to introduce the MC, Rabbi Holtzman, which he has been giving a shir here for every Monday night for the last at least 8 to 10 years in the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch and Hilchos Shabbos, where anywhere from 8 to 12 people participate, and he comes every week. Smichas Chaver program that includes in-depth halacha in halacha l'maisa, which we just started a course. So everyone's welcome to join. So without further ado, Holtzman. Thank you very much.
The Rebbe brings down in a sikha, famous sikha on Purim, the Gemara that fragt, why don't we say how the Gemara asks, and there's 3 terutzim and tackles a her and a him, but the Nekudas Hadover of that sikha from the Rebbe, why don't we say Hallel on Purim, even though we say but you don't say Hallel, because Hallel, there's a Gemara Shabbos, by the way, we, Baruch Hashem, covered, more or less, we didn't cover in time the Sechta Shabbos, not the 24 broken, but we touched all over, and Baruch Hashem, B'siyata D'Shmaya, the shir was, like it says in this parsha, V'nosnu, we gave, we got, we gave, V'nosnu both ways, the shir given in death, Mamish, we took from the Gemara with the Rishonim, with the Achronim, until the last, with the Achronim, and also we used it on the Rebbe's halachas, so we nosnu back and forth. So is in Gemara Shabbos says, in Kol Kisvei actually, that you can't say, whoever says Hallel is Stamazay every day is Mechal from Megadef, meaning we have to thank Hashem yet minut, yet a Zachor. Amol, when you don't really see the pracht and the beauty and danken the Meibishten, can Hallel and Purim, it looked like more natural, I have connection, this, that, Esther, and so weiter. But certainly, when you come to a level, when you reach to Machna Zape Eir V'Hodor, do in Shchunas HaMelech, in Crown Heights, in this area over here, a mensch below my Sefer, a mensch below my Rika Platz, you have a nice shul over the bottom, but now it's going to have a real place of a big medrash. Is Zicher, like it says in the Heintige Parsha, Zeh Yitnu, Zeh gate of Yud Beis, the Yud Beis is the Yosef of Rabbi Hillel HaKohen Katzman. By the way, Hillel HaKohen Katzman is Gematria Moshe, so obviously Moshe is the one that is really very, very much involved. And with that said, I do want to say, there's a vote, and we use it in Halacha, Migal HaTefach, Mechaset Tefachayim, Migal HaTefach. So I will say that as long this year and over the years, I had this chus that the Moed HaAsra of Crown Heights, a Goyen, a Adir, a Goyen, a Poisik, or Rav Broim Shlita, We spoke to him from time to time, and whenever I met him, I'm talking from the beginning for sure, but even later we met, and which Sif are you? That Sif and that Sif, obviously it was like encyclopedia Mahalach over. So ich kann mir egal sein noch Sachen zu sagen, aber whichever. So I want to thank the Mordasa of the dort Yedidi Moiri Rabbi or Rav Yosef Yishaya Bräunschlitter for the alle Hilfe, for the alle Idut, for the alle Chizuk, for Bechlal, for myself, in the Proti, for this Kehillah over here of Reim Ahuvim, that indirectly or directly we had an unbelievable hashpor from this sinner, and for the ganze Shchunas HaMelech, what he does, and continue to do, and there's coming doors then, Be'enov, which is the Be'er on this side of Crown Heights, then a Platz was heißt Beis, Hillel, a Beis Medrash, was a sein offen, le Teure, le Shem, was a Ferris, le Silo, without further ado, I would ask the Mordas, or Rav Goyen, or Rav Bräunschlitter, to zone a Pomertas.
Speak in English for the benefit of those that Yiddish is not their mother tongue yet. Mr. Hashem. I'm often invited to many different functions. And the simon that I have, if I know the functions are very important, is when there's a very small crowd, when there's a very poor attendance. And usually when there's a poor attendance, that means it's something really critical, which is so negaya, and that's why people are just, they don't get it. And of all the different functions, this week, last month, next month, Mr. Hashem, this is probably one of the most important things that we had this year in our community. And the only problem is that we just don't appreciate it enough, or some of us don't appreciate it enough. To establish a Makom Torah where people will sit and learn Torah, that's the success of a Kehillah, that's the success of a community, that's the success of an individual, that's the success of a home. There's a bunch of different things that are happening all the time. Now go from one thing to another. Say l'chaim here, and you just move around. But this is something which is such permanence and such chshivas. The Rebbe always brings from the Friedrich Rebbe the word of oisig b'Torah. Why we use the expression olasig divrei Torah? Why the expression oisig? So the Friedrich Rebbe writes in the Maimer that we have to treat Torah as if it's our business. And the Baal Esek, a businessman, doesn't only come 9 to 5. He's always thinking of ways how to make his business better. But if you ever see those businesses that close down, that's because they haven't been doing that. Those old-fashioned people are thinking of this old-fashioned way of thinking, it's been going good till now, I don't have to make any changes. And those are the businesses that usually, after a couple of years, are just out of business. And those that every other day they put up a new sign, they change the menu, they change the location, move things around, the front to the back and the back to the front. They constantly think of ways how to make things more attractive. But they don't only think about themselves, they're always going out. If there's social media, we'll use social media. Every method we have to get people to know that I exist and that my business exists. So the Rebbe says in the Maimer, Friedrich Rebbe, that the same thing applies to Torah. That a person who's a oisik with Torah treats Torah as his business. He's not happy that he's learning Torah. He offers it to people, says, have you rolled up? Have you enrolled in my program? Do you know what kind of program I have? And it's a pity that we have over here in a community like Crown Heights. This is not something about this corner, this block, this section of Crown Heights. This is something which is affecting the entire community. It's a pity that we only have 20, 30 people, but that's my indication that's really something very significant. Like I said, that's unfortunately what happens. Really, this is not Achnos Sefer Torah. This is Torah Alim. This is a place which is going to change people's lives. People that walk into Beis Medrash and sit and learn Torah, their home is a different home. Ask your wives. So they make feel when you're away from home, oh, hello, I would love to have some help with the kids and with the dishes. But they know this is an investment. My husband, my son, whoever it is gaining, is becoming, every single minute is becoming his mohus, is becoming Torah. It's a home, where the home becomes a home of Torah, something totally different. And yes, of course you can learn at home. It doesn't compare learning at home to learning in a Beis HaMedrash. You're supposed to learn at home too. The Rebbe tells us to make our homes into a Beis Chabad. A Beis Torah, Tefillah, Tzedakah. So some people take that quite literally. They daven at home. The Rebbe said you have to make your home into a Beis Tefillah. So don't show up in shul. Don't show up to shiurim because they learn at home too. Everything happens at home. Obviously, that's not what we meant. We meant that she also utilized the home for Torah, Tefillah, and Tzedakah. But like the Gemara says, that if a person listens to the Beis HaMedrash, machkim, he becomes smart. He doesn't forget his Torah. It's a different experience. Learn at home and learn the Beis HaMedrash. You see, it's the development and the educational benefit that a child gets. He knows where's Tati. As gegangen in Beis HaMedrash, hat chavrusa, hat shir, Rambam, Daf Yomi. It makes no difference. He has a kvias, and a kvias. This is chok le'aver. This is a kvias. It's not a business meeting. A business meeting is nicht benai. It's a morgen. Okay, I told the guy, I told him to come tonight, but I'm busy tonight. I'll come tomorrow. Oh, but a kvias means kvias. It's fixed. It can't change. What do you mean? We're up to today's Rambam. We're up to these prakim. I can't push it off to tomorrow. Tomorrow we're already going to be the next set. Same with Daf Yomi. The same with any shir that exists. It's a kvias. This life's hanging upon this. This is, Hatzol does Hatzol Nefashos. This is Hatzol Nefashos Baruchnis. This is saving our lives and our families' lives. And this is mamish aptly connected with this week's parsha. Kisisa Esrosh is a sikha, not a very well-known sikha. Again, the same idea. Whatever is less well-known, the sim is most important. So there's a sikha in Tashim Zayin, Mugadig sikha, Sefer HaSichas. But the Rebbe says, Taish Kisisa Esrosh meant was ufheben the cup. How did the person lift up his head? Even a child knows that the way to lift up your head is through limud Torah. Going a whole lengthy sikh about how kisisa means limud Torah, and then the Rebbe says as follows: the child sees his father involved in multiple projects. Elu dvarim she'elam shir. He knows he's involved in achnasas archim, and he's involved in bikkur cholim, and he's involved in avodas hames, and he's involved in achnasas kala in the morning and davening. We list all those things. Oh, but the king gates to some tatne and tells his father, "Du hast mir gelernt, as steht in Siddur steht, v'salmu Torah k'neged kulam." Tate, who's dein kisisa esresh? This word that he uses. Where are you lifting up your head? How's the Talmud Torah k'neged kulam? Learning Torah equals all of those things that we just mentioned. All the things that are listed, which I didn't mention all of them. Iyon tefillah, hava shalom edam l'chavere. You know what that means to make shalom edam l'chavere? Two people that were in a fight till now, and you make shalom between them. Hava shalom and ishtay, to create a shalom Beis, a family which is falling apart. It's a tremendous chus. All of those things together, v'salm Torah k'neged kulam. It's more than all of that. So it's not it's an exaggeration that we're saying that establishing this message over here is the biggest simcha that we have in our community, bigger than any other simcha that we have. It really deserves a tremendous mazel tov. This deserves rikudim. This deserves something beyond that we imagine. So we have to make a person out of it. I don't know if anybody here is good at PR. Don't know. Maybe someone has to become a PR person. Moshchei Beis HaMedrash. I don't know if you're in Beis HaMedrash. Okay, the people over here know about it. I don't know if the people over there how many are going to come either. But Pagabach Manuvel Zen, not only your own Manuvel, your own Yetzirah, you schlep into the Beis HaMedrash. Gemara says if the Yetzirah ever comes to you, schlep into the Beis HaMedrash. Im Evan Huni Moyach, in Barzul Muspaitis. You bring him to the Beis HaMedrash, even if he's made out of stone, he'll melt. If he's made out of metal, he'll platz. That's what the Gemara says. Today's day and age, there's wireless connections. Even the Beis HaMedrash can be out of the Beis HaMedrash. And so you have to have, what if they have in a lot of the schools, they have these things that could be, what is it called? That stops, I don't know if it's legal. That stops. Jammers, yeah. So you walk into the Beis HaMedrash, there's no, cell phones don't work over here. So sometimes it can be in the Beis HaMedrash, but you're not really there. I'm talking about if you talk in the Beis HaMedrash, not only Begash, you're in the Beis HaMedrash for real. So the Gemara says about Yetzirah, Shlep the Beis HaMedrash. He's lost, he's gone. But it doesn't only apply to you. Meet another Yid. Shlep Maran Beis HaMedrash. I was in Shlichus as a bacher in Sydney, Australia. Told me to Mashluchim. What's our job? We were told studying and learning Torah. That's our job. The Rebbe told them. Years before that, the Rebbe told the Shluchim to Australia their job is to conquer Australia through limud Torah. Then the Rebbe told them that what I told you privately, don't tell the Balabatim that, because that's a bit of a tough language. Conquer Australia, when people get turned off, you tell them I have to conquer you through limud Torah. But that's really what your job is. So we were told as Bachar, what's our job? But so why do we have to come to Sydney? Still learn Torah? We can learn Torah in New York. So first of all, there's a Ruchni Zigapol. But the second thing we were told is, whenever you meet another Yid, no Miftzayim. Miftzayim, schlep him into Yeshiva. That's what we did. To walk down Bandai Road. So Yid, Slicha, Yid, Jewish. Bo la Yeshiva, 36 plus Street, we sit and learn. 2 years ago, 3 years ago was by now. 3 years ago. When did Huda make bar mitzvah? Thanks. That's 3 years ago, I think. I was in Sfas for a family bar mitzvah. I walked out, a guy comes at Shabbos, ready wearing a Zaydna kapata. Says, Hello, Makirotzi? I don't know who you are. Says, we learned together. You schlepped me into the yeshiva. Sat and learned, told me we learned Sharich Be'emunah. I don't know what he's talking about. I learned Kunstz Philly, he tells me. And now he's a Chassidish young man in Sfas with a kapata, with a sartuk. From what from come to Beis Medrash, he's one, had his money like that. It was to schlepp them in the Beis Medrash. Beis Medrash sits and learns the gereste Pa'ula. It's a bunch of other mitzvahim. There's also something called mitzvah Torah. And mitzvah Torah, like we said, is connected kulam. Like you see, says Reish, you know yourself. You wake up in the morning, and a day that you sit and learn to my Chassidus, it's to overgrab that cup. Your head has been lifted up. A day that you sat and learned the Blat Gemara, it's the andere Tag. A day they opened up a Shulchan Aruch and you sat and learned Shulchan Aruch, and a day which you didn't get around to your Kviyas sitting on Torah. I don't know how it fits with the word Kviyas. Alter Rebbe said that he was Mechat. What did he learn in Mezrich? What's the Chiddush of Kviyas? That's not only Kviyas B'zman, it's Kviyas B'nefesh. It's not only fixed on the time, it's also fixed in you. So a day that you know, that for some reason Kviyas wasn't exactly Kviyas. It's a trukne tug. It's a dreary day. It's not a real day. The labor shelter is on my sleep. So takas on a cat and oil. I hope you don't mind competition. And when it comes to limit Torah, there's also shlingas competition. The Rambam brings us halacha twice, both of Huchas Torah and Huchas Shchenim. So the Rebbe says, because it's not only not a problem with Huchas Gul, so it's Huchas Shchenim, but it's also a din Huchas Torah. So it's Safan Torah. So there's going to be, Baruch Hashem is two shuls right across the street of each other. So let there be many Beis Medrash in all four corners. Und an dem soll man zu lesen sein, und denken, das ist der Schlaf, bringen Mashiach, was ist dein Last Love? Das ist ein Beis Medrash ganz am Tag. That's what's going to happen. That's Lach Rabbi Shechef.
I'll get on the way out. Thank you very much. We have the honor to have with us Heuser. Again, thank you very much. Okay, yeah. We have the honor to have with us Hamashpia, Heuser, and Soifer, and all the titles with it. But the Rikeris, Chosid Agodul, and Hamashpia, Rav Zerikson, that is going to share with us a warme Wörter, more than a poor, please, in a auspicious time that we stand now. Rabbi Zerikson, please. Yeah.
Everything is Bashgacha Pratis. Timing is right before Purim, Mamasheret Purim, in addition to that, the name has a very close connection with the union of Beis Medrash. And in addition to that, the Inyanim that the Rebbe spoke when he gave the Maila of a shul being open in the evenings. Starting from the Gemara tells us in Yumed Aflamed Hey Yomed Beis, that when he gave to Hillel Azokin, which is Shmo Godim, this is the name of the Baal Yortzeit. So it says that every day he would work and he would earn very little. He earned a dinar. The Gemara is called Betrapoy. Half of it he would give to the shamer of the Beis HaMedrash, or the guard that to go into the shul. The Chetzi and half he gave used for his parnasa and for the livelihood of his family. One time he didn't find enough money to attain, and they didn't let him to go into they didn't allow him into shul, into the Beis Medrash. What did he do? He sat down on the skylight in order to be able to hear. Very interesting Lashon Kadesh. Yishma divrei elikim chayim mipishmaya v'avtali. And that's the Malah Torah, the inyan from divrei elikim chayim, which is, this is what his inyan was, hearing from his rabbis from Shmaya v'avtali. So it says that day was Erev Shabbos. He was Tufas Tavis, and a big snow came down. And when it came down with Shachar, it was already in the morning. So Shmaya said to Avtalia and Ochi, every day the house is illuminated, it's lit up. And today it's dark. Maybe it's a cloudy day. They looked up, they saw an image of a person covering the skylight. They went up, they found a depth of 3 amas of snow. They took it off him and they washed him and they applied oil to him, made him feel comfortable. They put him in front of a medura, in front of a oven, in front of a fireplace. And they then said that if this would be Shabbos, Roy, Zel, Lechalal, all of us are Shabbos, that he would be appropriate person, that they should be Mechalal Shabbos for him, which means that he was Mamash Achela Sheyesh Beisakora. This is basically already seeing the connection between Hillel and the Inyan of a Beis Medrash, the Mesiras Nefesh that he had to be in Beis Medrash to learn, and even if he wasn't able to be inside the Beis Medrash because he didn't have money to go in the minimal fee, he went up on Daruba in order that he should be able to hear Epes Avot, Yishma Divrei Elikim Chaim Shmaya V'Avtali. This is also Benegir the Bala Yortzeit, which is Shmor Gorim, the same name. Rabbi Hillel was a Yid that would sit and learn. He was Ernst the Rebbe once said us in the talk on Altenbein. It was once said by Yechidus, there was a Yid came from Nachalas HaChabad. His name was Rabbi Rikman. And the Rebbe said to him, he was in charge of a gemach, of a loan fund in Nachala, and the Rebbe told him what's happening with the fund, with the gemach, we gate us if it's growing. Like the Rebbe once told Rabbi Yechanan Gordon that if it's not growing, it's a simon, it's not doing anything. There should be more loans. So he told the Rebbe, ich bin ein älterer Mensch, I'm an older person, and find up somebody younger to do it. So the Rebbe said, bei mir nicht talking alter. There's no old people. There are junge Leute und sie do ältere junge Leute. There's younger light and there's older younger light. There's no Metzias a gather of alter Menschen. So B'chol from Rabbi Hillel was very active again in Yom of learning. Apnimisdike Yid, Chassidische Yid, and Gilat mit Rebbe, Gilat mit Chassidus, and was a quiet person. The Mela too much. We didn't hear from him, but basically he was a Pnimisdike Yid, and his inyan was Pashat. Can man sagen, Ashul Yid. A Yid was his gelegen Jahren von Teiring, Jahren von Aveda. So the Mela, it couldn't be more than to mark his yahrzeit with establishing a Chanukas Habayis of a shul, which is named Beis Hillel, which the Inyan of Hillel B'chlal is connected with the Inyan of Torah to the extent that it's mentioned in the Sicha from the Rebbe, I think from the Gala Mukis, that the Rosh Tevis, Meisha, also includes the Hay, the Inyan of Shammai and the Inyan of Hillel. So basically that's the closest Inyan from Kol HaTorah. It was in Tafshin Lamed Ches. The Rebbe the first time addressed the issue of Benegir to shuls that were not open in the evening. For whatever reason, either people didn't come to Mela, they didn't keep the shuls open. And the Rebbe spoke about it, Barichos and Yud Aleph Nissen. I'll just read some from the translation of what was then translated in English. So the Rebbe says, we see that the hours during which the shuls and the houses of study are open should be extended. This was also a Keil Keder of Agudas Rabbanim. Agudas Rabbanim then came out with an announcement that people should start participating, coming to shul. The shul should be open. Likewise, we find it also in Kunter Samayon, in the Mobi of Kunter Samayon, from Rebbe Rashab, that he speaks there about the shul, that it became poshik like less people in shul in the evenings. As even the Keil Keder, they used to hear people come to having shiurim at night. And the Rebbe said, the Rebbe Rashab then was also upset that it wasn't like it used to be. So the Mela, the Rebbe continues that one of the principal objectives is that it would enable people who otherwise would not be able to study Torah at night. And the Rebbe refers to the halacha in Shulchan Aruch that even someone who's in the category of having little knowledge of Torah must study at least one portion, Perek Echad Shachris, Perek Echad Avos. The Rebbe says this is the bare minimum, and it can only be catered if the shuls are open. Through strengthening the Keil Yankev, the Tefillah and the Torah of Yidden, the aggressive hands of our enemies, Esav, are weakened. And this also serves as a preparation for the future when even the nations whom we fear now will help and serve Yidden together, as it says, that they will be the shepherds helping, attending to the needs of Am Yisrael. And the Rebbe continues that through the increase of prayer and tefillah in the shul, prayer and study in the shuls, we can experience the aforementioned even during the Golus. That even in the Golus time, Yidden will stand on a higher standard than it will be that B'shas Kil Yankev. So then, Eina Yodayim Yedei Esav Shiltis. That's when the Yodayim Yedei Esav, the hands of Esav, can't rule because it's Leim Yamatz, and when it's Kil Yankev, so then the other side is bottom. It seemed like it didn't really move too far, and about a year and a few months later, the Rebbe spoke about it again. And the Rebbe then, this was Chaf of Tavshel Amates, the Rebbe spoke, and the Rebbe said that he already spoke about it in the past. The Rebbe continues, that this was a year and a half after Yudal of Nisan, that a few years ago a big and positive commotion was made to keep the shuls open at night. Inspired, the Rebbe says, many who followed and fulfilled it in a practical sense, coming to shul, and this continued for a certain time. But now, in other words, it died down. Whatever was supposed to happen is still ruined. There's nothing. The Rebbe says, why is there neither sound nor response? Because the shuls and study halls are closed. The Rebbe says that the shuls and the Midrashim would be open. Yidden would come in to learn, and it would then be, as the Rebbe mentioned in the earlier Fabrengen, Hakil Kil Yankev, and B'meila Sayin the shuls and Sayin the Bati Midrashim. And since the Rebbe says this was the occasion after Chamisha Sabav, which is the time that the days are becoming longer, and B'meila there's the union of Man the Yesef, that a person increases in Teda. So B'meila, this would be worthwhile, the Rebbe says, to renew the commotion which was made then, that the shuls and the study halls should be open also in the evenings and nights. And the Rebbe says from the commotion, the Teda study should be fulfilled in a manner of Kil Mamadaka, a still thin voice, and Divrei Chachamim benachas lishmoyim, the words of Chachamim are heard softly from wise men. And in order that the study of Torah will be successful, one needs before that, the Rebbe explains in Avedas Hashem, the union of Avedas Atfilah, which comes before Torah, Beirach Avat Torah Tchilah, that a person learns Torah, he should know whose Torah he's learning. The Rebbe once mentioned in the Fabrengen that there was a Rosh Yeshiva once came into him, and he showed the Rosh Yeshiva Tur, Simen Mem Zayin, in the Gear, the union of Birchas HaTorah, that he explains it in the signet of Lashon Chassidus. That B'meila there's a need to understand what's a Torah, Birchas HaTorah Tchilah, and B'meila that's how a person appreciates Torah and Nesan HaTorah. So the Rebbe says, what did he do? The Rosh Yeshiva and from Akum Sefer, and he put it back on the shelf. So it's all in the Rebbe's room. Rosh Yeshiva never any thing what to answer with, to respond. So I'll call upon him. The Rebbe continues that the limit of Torah should be only for the union of Torah itself. The Rebbe says that what the Rebbe spoke then should be fulfilled only from this Beis HaMedrash. And as the Rebbe mentioned the Lashon earlier from the Medrash, that Akil Kil Yankev, the Mela then the Esav don't have any Shlita. And the Mela, this also brings the Gula Hamitis Vashlema. The Rebbe should lead us. And as the Rebbe said, the Lashon were all the Bati Medrashim. The Rebbe brought from the Gemara Megillah that Hasidim called Bati Medrashim are all going to move together to Yerushalayim. When that night, the Santa Maisi was in Tavshel Beis, 1952. It was Shabbos Shmini. Hasidim called it Shabbos Agodol because the Rebbe Fabrengt all day. When Mamash went till the end of the day, it says Augustin Shabbos by. In the Manim we see it, we get some kind of impression what took place then. And they brought the Rebbe asked they should bring a Gemara B'Negia to this. He wants to look up the Maimer Chazal, Hasidim Batik Nesias, that they're going to be moving to Yisrael. After a while, the Rebbe remained with the Gemara, he saw it, and he was holding the Gemara. So there was a God, the Gabbai went over to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe says, "F shit is the Rebbe schwer halt me gemara." So the Rebbe said, "A Rebbe is Teira nicht schwer. The Rebbe, it's not difficult to hold the Gemara." So the Mela, the Rebbe says, helpful that they should add to the Nachas Ruach of the Rebbe, and they should also accomplish a Nachas Ruach for the Neshama, after whom it is named. And we should have the Gula Mitzvah Vashlema, and the Rebbe should lead us, Lasina, this Yerushalayim, this Amigdash, and Kedesh HaKadosh.
Amen.
Shikoyach. Shikoyach, Rav Zerikson, thank you very, very much. Very interesting. Appreciate it a lot. And he said everything is connected to the ganze Shchon, in other words, right? Out. And I was thinking that the Rema Uvim, Beis Hillel, is Taki Gematria 770 Omen. So Taki Zayna David Zot, so the Chenik Lumitidom. Purim is coming up, and the ganze Sache Purim is Mordechai HaTzadik. By the way, Mordechai HaTzadik is Gematria U Beis Hillel. This is some as a side note. Anyway, so we have Mordechai HaTzadik given. Wer hat ihm gebeten? Der Rebbe speaks a lot about it. Wer hat ihm gebeten, sich starting gehabt with Haman, with given dort a Mishnah Melech, and he's standing there on the Shar. You don't want to bow, lo yichra, willst nicht? Fine. You don't need to. Aber you're allowed to. Yaakov Avinu bowed face. Was ist geschehen? Willst nicht? So go tell Esther Amal to change my position and get me somewhere else. And ich nicht lo yichra. However, there's many sikhs, and the Nikudas Adover is because it's in Mordechai HaTzadik, and this is a message, Moshe Rabbeinu of the dog. So whatever is going to be perceived, we're going to understand that Erev Gemacht and Emek and El Naim, which leads me to introduce the next speaker, Rav Mordechai. Lipsker, the Mechanech, and he gives shiurim, and he gives a lot of shiurim in the shul over here and all over Crown Heights. So Mordechai Lipsker, bevakasha, Apoverta. Oh.
That's not under the 45. You have a few minutes to get under the man. As I suspected, I'm drawing said the same that I was going to say, but I brought it anyway so I have to admit, as Rabbi Zelitzson was talking and then you were talking again, I had to think of what to say now. So you gave me a few ideas. Well, first of all, the last thing Rabbi Zelitzson said, I didn't know that ever said it. They were talking about keeping the shuls open, and if there's Kol Yaakov, then there's no Yadayim De'esa. The reality is, living in a place like Brooklyn, we know that light is the greatest deterrent for criminals. It's a reality. The houses that are bright, the houses that are lit up, the alleyways that are lit up, the streets that are lit up, there's less crime. And steht in Megillah, Yehudim Haisa Oira, V'Simcha Zak Gemara Oira. What's Oira? What's the light that you didn't have? Oira Zu Teira. Teira is light. When you have the light of Teira, so automatically it makes it so much easier. It's a very good defense mechanism. And Pashut Bagashmi, it's a place like this, if the lights are lit up, and by the way, they're LEDs, so even if they're on the whole night, they don't cost all that much. So if they're lit up the whole night, and there are people coming and going, it's a good safety measure for this side of Crown Heights, and we could use it. When Beis Hamushka put up their lights, it became a lot safer. A few years ago, I was driving my mouth right down this block, and it was in the summer night, and I had my nieces there from Arizona. And we stopped here by the red light. And as we're about to turn, she's looking at this building. She's like, "What's that building?" So my kid tells her it's a shul. It's a shul, but why the lights on? It's 10 o'clock at night. And she sees, I think it was a guy on Thursday night. You had your because the Torah share downstairs, she growing up in Arizona, a shul, what's a shul? From different davening, I'm all this program that a shul should be open and people should be learning late at night. It was mamish, to her it was refreshing, it was a chiddush. The reality is that just with the bright light, it's already a very beautiful thing. In this week's parsha, another thing you have is Shabbos. Mitzvah of Shabbos is given in this week's parsha. The Shteit in Gemara talks there about all the different Tanoim and Amoraim, what they would do to prepare for Shabbos. So one of the things that's brought there is one of the Amoraim used to buy every Friday, he used to take 13 coins, and he used to buy 13 cuts of meat. Some competition. 13 different, he used to go to 13 different butchers and buy 13 shticklar flesh. Then he would pay the butchers by Tzinora Dedosha. Tzinora Dedosha means he paid by the hinges of the door. So there's a whole discussion in the Parsha, so why is it important to mention that? So some say it's Pasha, that's where he kept the money. People used to keep the money because the doors are these big heavy doors and they had these, what's it called, dowels on top and the bottom of the door. So there was a little hole in the ground, that's where they kept the money. And then he would say, Ashur Haya, hurry up, Shabbos is coming, it's time to move. But the Ben Yoda says Pshat is like this. Why would he buy Dafka 13? Why would he tell everyone, hurry up? Why would he pay Dafka by the door? Says Zokazoy. A door is very heavy. I tried it. I mean, I had to take a door off the hinges in my house once, and I was shocked at how heavy the door is. When the door is on the hinges, a baby could push the door open and close. When it's off the hinges, it's heavy. So he said, I forgot which, I didn't look up just now which Amida it was, but his message to the people in his household was, when it comes Shabbos, so there's a lot of preparations that have to be done, and it could weigh a lot, it could be a burden, but it's eventually. If you're hinged up to something higher, if you're lifted up to something higher, then the whole weight of Shabbos swings, it comes, it goes. The thing is a machaya. What is it to be hinged on? 13 is gematria echad. 13 is gematria echad. He said if the whole Shabbos is infused with that geschmack that we're so lucky to have Shabbos, and it's for the Eibishter, so then it's a secret to Shalom Beis, like you mentioned before. And the whole preparing for Shabbos becomes easier. There's a story with the Meir Mishlan that he was a very short man, and the only mikveh there in town was at the bottom of a hill. And to get to that mikveh, you had to go down this hill. So whoever tried to do it used to slip and get hurt and get muddy. The only person that could go up and down this hill without getting hurt was this the Meir Mishlan. So they asked him how he does it. All the big strong guys couldn't do it. So the Meir said in Yiddish, he said about himself, as Meirel is gebunden, oiben falt in your Meir, so about himself, is attached on high, so he doesn't fall down. What's pshat? If you have a harness and bagashmis, you're push it tight, you're strong up, so then you won't fall down. If you have people who watch the Rebbe walk on the ice, will say also the Rebbe was mamash like the Rebbe walked fast on the ice as if there's no, Rebbe didn't change his pace, just continued walking as if there's some string hanging. God, Rabbi Gordon's shloshim is tonight. His wife, who now is also a shalom, she used to do something called Feldenkrais, a form of physical therapy. So she once told me, she helped me with a few things with it, and she told me about a technique. I think it's called the string technique. Was it developed by Yid? What's the technique? People have a problem with their knees or ankles especially. So I'm just going to say what it is. Okay, don't try this at home. Talk to your licensed Feldenkrais practitioner. So what they do is they tell the person to stand and close their eyes and imagine that there's a string attached to their head. And as they're standing, they say, in your mind, visualize that the string is slowly picking up the whole body. The weight is being supported by that string. And now all you need to do is tap your feet on the ground, and you need to guide where you want to go, but the weight is being supported by that string. If you do so enough times, it realigns the body, the person can then walk. The mamish, this Indian, the power that the mind has to lift up the person. When the person is lifted up, takes less weight, so things become so much more geschmack. So this is all what the Rebbe is included in that sikha that he mentioned before, which I think it's kedai to make a few mentions of a few things here. Also reminded me of your father a little, Hillel. Tavshem Mem Zayin. Look it up. It's not a long sikha. It's Yiddish, and the Rebbe said that Kisisa starts off. Kisisa says, "You're going to lift up the head of a Yid." Why do you want to lift up the head of a Yid? Because when you lift up the head, lift up the head, the body follows. So the head of a person, lift up the head of a person, the whole person follows. Lift up the head of a household, the household follows. You lift up the head of a community, the community follows. The head is where everything begins. So Kisi says, you should lift up the head of a Yid. How do you lift up the head of a Yid? With what's inside the head. A person could be into all different types of things like that. He's busy, especially most people today are busy having to earn a living. And their head is full with a lot of things, but if we feel like Yiddish, the head was Torah, it lifts up everything they do the rest of the day gets lifted up just from that. Then he brought what the Rebbe brought before, but the kid tells his father, where's the part I wanted to read here? Yeah, Lachas Kam to mention, the majority of people, the Rebbe is not expecting Malachim over. The majority of people, the Zman Hazeh, seine Reif Menschen vernommen die meiste Zeit vom Tag mit den Jani Eset und Parnasse, wochedik in Jan. Bis es kam sein in dem Versunken und Verkauf, wie ein Mensch weiß bei sich allein, und ihm noch stark in der Geht, das Leben mit Tises Reich, soll aufheben der Kopf soll liegen in hecheren Janim, in geistigen Janim. And then this affects him and his family. Then the Rebbe said it continues. The pasuk continues. You see, says Reish Bnei Yisrael. Says, look in the story of Purim, which was about Mordechai. Mordechai didn't bow his head. A Yid is not supposed to go with Kaimas Kufa. When you walk, the Yid is supposed to go. He's supposed to see what's in front of him. You're not supposed to walk with the Kaimas Kufa. But Mordechai Tzaddik, he said, doesn't go with doesn't bow his head to him because his head is lifted for the right thing. So it's like a preventative thing. If our head is in the right thing, automatically it's much more. A Yid is much less prone to fall from Mishigasim and to fall into the no good places because our head is elevated. Not only that, but if someone sees a proud Yid and his head is lifted high, so even a guy is impressed by that. And then the Rebbe said, but now someone could ask a question. How could you be montment von ihm, Tises Roish? How could you demand from every person they should lift up their head with Torah? When weiß, als hat Gott übergeben von Arbeiter. Durch dem, was nicht nur bei Ruach Stoß, heblich vom Chochem und Oven, Punkt in der verkehrte Richtung von Tises Roish. Yid says, who am I to pick up my head? I just lowered my head by doing an Arbeiter. Therefore, the parsha continues. He says, He says, it's most important for any of us who feel like we're not worthy of learning Torah, we're not worthy of lifting up our head. Dafka is such a Yid Zok Rebbe is someone who's going to come to a greater Kisas because it's not encouraging that we should do Avedas, not masses of the cow before walking into the Beis Medrash. But the point is that the Kisisa Reish is not something for tzaddikim. Kisisa Reish is dafka for those of us who the majority of our day, majority of our life, we have to put our heads into things that are not necessarily Torah. But the rest of the day becomes affected by by elevating it. The little bit I remember about your father, I think I remember him still when he was working. He worked in the diamond industry, right? That was his official occupation. But Torah was his real occupation. Project is destined to land. He was a Yid that you could talk to in learning. So came to Yolana designed by Yehudim Hoysa Eira, Gorkib Shute, starting off with the light over here, of course, and the light of Torah, which will be lifted by Yidden and by the whole Katzman family and everyone involved in this. And the main thing is we should be Zoichet in Beis HaMedrash B'loi Chiddush, so we should have the Beis HaMedrash with Mashiach and the Chiddush Torah Chadasha and Iti Teitzeh. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Thank you very much, Rav Lipska. And Rav Zelickson, Rav Michal Zelickson mentioned before the Megala Amukis, we just finished Parshas Tetzaveh, and the Rebbe brings down the Megala Amukis. The Megala Amukis was, and his Matzeva says, that he had Gilui Eliyahu Hanavi, nicht Stam, and he wanted to write a lot of Perushim. How many Perushim did he come to write of? Galamuk is geschrieben, when he came to 202, so he gesagt, Rav Lecho, stop. Gern, ich habe nicht, es werden, die ganze Welt werden Chorov. So he, was Hanan, Tovkuf Tezvov Pirushim, when he came to Rav, so he said stop. So, and what does he write over there in the Megala Amukis of the Parashat Kitzav? At the Pnimius von Moshe is Kuf Aleph. The Rebbe brings it down in order. The Moshe, if you take Mem, the next Mem is a Pnimi. And Shin, you take the Yud Nun of the Shin, which is the Pnimi of the Shin. And you take the Aleph of the Hey Aleph. You take the Aleph and you count them all together, they come out 101. And 101 is Gematria, he brings it down. I'm sure over there, is Gematria Michoel. Michol is 101. Twice Michol is 202, which is Rav. So anyway, we're saying that we go from one Rav Michol to the next Rav Michol, so we're going to ask Rav the Nocha Mashpia, from one Mashpia to another to Mashpia, so we're saying the Rav Michol Golem, the Zayda, so Zoma Poveta, please.
Well, after hearing the first Mechor, he doesn't leave anything left. He's Malakit from Kol HaTorah Kula. So I'm going to take a different course of action. About a few hundred years ago, there lived the famous tzaddik, the Bzusha Nanipoli. The Bzusha once found himself traveling from place to place. He arrived Erev Shabbos in a village, and he went straight away to the Beis HaMedrash, to the shul, and he came to Ma'ariv. He had no idea where he was going to eat that night. Came to Ma'ariv, and he's davening. After Ma'ariv, the Seder in the shuls was always that there should be somebody there, that there should be the Gabbai used to make sure that every person that was there would have a place to stay, to eat for the Shabbos meal. So everybody was taken care of, but Abzush, at the time he finished davening, the shul was empty, and the Gabbai sees him there and says, where are you eating? You have somewhere to go? He says, no. Nobody knew who he was. So he said, so I don't really have anybody else. There's only one place that definitely has room for you, and that's the house of the Reish HaKol. Should we call him the shul president? The shul president, he has plenty of room in his house. So I'm going to send you to his house, but the shul president, a very honorable person, Harav, let's call him, I don't know what his name was, but let's call him Harav Goldberg. Rav Goldberg is a very honorable person, and he only likes Talmidei Chachomim sitting by his table. Somebody's going to have to say a Dvar Torah. So, what's your name? He says, Zusha. He says, so Zusha, you're going to have something to say at Dvar Torah? So Zusha, as is known, Zusha was a very humble person. He says, Zusha Beis Goldisht. Zusha doesn't know anything. So, I said, yeah, you have to, some Dvar Torah, the Parsha, Rashi, something, Psakasha, Teretz. Zusha came to daven, and that's it. So he says, what am I going to do now? You know what? I'll take you in the side door. I'll explain to the Rebbetzin that it's a situation that we can't do anything, and we'll stick you in the corner there. Don't worry, we'll stick you in. So he takes him to the side door. He explains it to the Mrs. The Rebbetzin Goldberg that this is a guy called Zusha, and he doesn't really know too much. And we know that the Rosh HaKol is very makpid to have only Talmidei Chachomim by his table. So therefore, maybe just stick him over here, give him his challahs and his wine, and he'll keep quiet. He won't make any problems. Okay, he sits there, and of course, Zusha, in his dveikus, when he starts saying Kiddush, he starts maybe humming to himself, Azam Bishvachin, or whatever it was, and all of a sudden, by the table, of course, the Rosh HaKol is surrounded by a few guests, which were Talmidei Chachomim. Lom de Shapilpul is going on in the parsha. And it's very exciting, and all of a sudden he hears, who's that over there in the corner? I didn't notice that as a guest. Rabbi, come over here, Kvod Harav. What's your name, Kvod Harav? So he says, no, Zusha is nicht Kirav, Zusha is a Pashti Yid. So he says, my table, Pashti Yid? Surely you have some wonder, something to say. Come, please sit down over here. And all the fine Yidden are looking at the Zusha, and they see a guy, a beggar. So he says, Advar Taylor, please. So Zusha weiß gar nicht. Zusha doesn't know anything. So he says, it can't be at my table. You have to say something. And all the other Talmidei Chachamim start joining in and say, no, Epis Akasha, something, Epis Akasha. He says, this is going on and on. He's saying he doesn't know anything, and they're pushing him to ask a question. Finally, he says, actually, I have a kasha. A kasha, maybe one of you know the answer. Okay, Lama Helen. They already have smirks on their faces. What type of kasha is this simple beggar going to come up with? So he says, my kasha is like this. Every year comes Pesach, and we read the Haggadah, and we've had already plenty of matzah, and plenty of morel, and then comes along a sandwich. A matzah von oben, a matzah von unten, and in the middle there's morel. Why do we do this? Steht kein Osa Hillel. This is what Hillel used to do. Kein Osa Hillel. Why would we all copy a Hillel? What do you say? He said, Hillel was Hillel Hazokin, Hillel. He says, that's my kasha. He says, if we're all copying Hillel, that means Hillel was a big tzaddik. No, so what's the kasha? So the kasha is, I'm a Pashti Yid, I say Tilim. And in Tilim, steht verkehrt. They're already smirking, they're already half laughing. This is a Purim Torah. Tilim steht verkehrt. How can Tilim say something about Hillel? Tilim is from Dovedan. This is Hillel from the Gemara, from the Mishnah. What type of kasha is it? So he says, no, it's a Mefurish Apostle. Well, Lamishan Hera, what's the Apostle? So he says, well, in Kapitel Yud it says, Ki Hillel Rasha. Hillel's a Rasha. He was come davor, he's a tzaddik or a Rasha. So they're already rolling in laughter. They're already rolling in laughter. This is a real Purim tale. So finally, when they finish laughing, and Kved Harav Goldberg is also in a good mood already, he's already laughing, big smiling, and so he says, no, Rav Zusha, you have a teretz to this stealer. So he says, I think I have a teretz. Oh yeah, what's the teretz? He says, I think the teretz is like this. Hillel from the Haggadah, everybody knows, Hillel from the Haggadah was a very, very nice person, a very patient person. In fact, there was somebody who came to make a test on him. They came to Erev Shabbos, and they drained him a cup. It was a nudnik, and he had a bet with somebody else if you can make Hillel get angry. And in the end, he didn't succeed. He didn't succeed to get him angry. And he lost his bet. He lost all the money that he betted that he was going to get Hillel angry. So Hillel is really a big tzaddik. That's the Hillel from Haggadah. But the Hillel from the Kapitel Tilim, this Hillel is somebody who's so, what's the pasuk say? Hillel Rosh al Tavis Nafshay. He's so careful about Tavis Nafshay that by his table can only be Talmidei Chachamim. Somebody who's not a big Talmid Chacham, a big London, can't be by his table. Now, nobody had mentioned, by the way, that the name of Kved Harav Goldberg, Reish HaKol, his first name was Hillel. And when the Rosh HaKol realized this is not a simple beggar, there's something going on over here, his smile was disappeared, and he was able to, afterwards he came to the Zusha and asked for Mechila, and the Zusha gave him a shtickle derech and avodas Hashem, and he was changed from the Hillel from the Tilim, from Pasuk Kapitel Yud, into the Hillel from the Haggadah. So I can tell you firsthand, I'm Chutin, that my first meeting with him was in a form of the Hillel from the Haggadah. How did I get to know him? I was a guest in his house one Shabbos, and I saw the Hillel Hazokin, which obviously comes from the father, the parents, and therefore I would say that this is a continuation, the Beis Hillel is a continuation of this Midas HaChesed. Hillel is the unit of Chesed, Shammai is the unit of Gvura, which is also included in Moshe, but Hillel now we're talking about is Midas HaChesed, Midas HaSavlonus, And to open up a shul is also an Indian of Hachnosas Orchim. I heard from somebody who gave me a ride, which is not so often in Crown Heights. Somebody gave me a ride in a car, and he says, I'm being Mekayim the mitzvah of Hachnosas Orchim. If you give somebody a ride in your car, that's Hachnosas Orchim. If you build a shul, what bigger Hachnosas Orchim could there be? It's not just an Eirach and Gashmis, which I'm sure there's a bit of Gashmis downstairs as well. There's a Hachnosas Orchim in Ruchnius. You're bringing people in, and you're giving them the emissar food, the emissar Hachnosas Orchim, which is Torah, Eirach and Torah, as was mentioned earlier. And from this Beis Hillel, I know this is not a funding campaign, but there is also an extension to this Beis Hillel. I wasn't asked to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. There's an extension from this Beis Hillel and another Beis Hillel in Modesto, California, where my son and Moshe's daughter are shluchim in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of Shmona, and they opened there also Beis Hillel, Beis Chabad, and also it's a Beis Hillel, where they are machdis orchim to people who don't know about Yiddishkeit. And anybody who wants to donate to their, what's it, Chabad at Modesto, Chabad of Modesto, whatever it is, I don't remember what it is exactly, you can ask Moshe afterwards. As a continuation, this Beis Hillel has given birth to another Beis Hillel, and the Eibush of the Halfen Takadeshu, we should pass him like Beis Hillel already. Beis Hillel is Midas HaChesed, Midas HaSavlonis, and the Eibush should be misnag with us now, become the Eilach, only in Midas HaChesed, and Midas HaRachmim, and it should be Taka the Geula, and Midas HaShrema, take it from the Yamam.
Amen. Thank you very much. My question is, I just going to make sure it's going to be Chav Lamiti. Anyway, thank you so much, Rav Golom, Mashpia. We're going to go now, Mitzvah Hashem, before we're going to have a siyum by Mechshuvi Atmimim that gives his share over here constantly, not only here, in other places also, and he's going to make a siyum on a Gemara that is being learned over here in the shul. So before we go to the siyum, we're going to ask, wie friert mir gesagt, Michal ist Tage der Pnimius von Moshe, aber bei uns ist sich der Iker, the Nikude is that we should have Moshe, the etzem of Moshe Rabbeinu, especially on this parsha, there's a word of Leivik that speaks about Ve'ato im tisach hatosam v'im right? Everyone knows the word. Ve'ato im tisach hatosam v'im ayin. Was made v'im ayin and sie fell dort v'im ayin what? Ve'ato im tisach hatosam and what? So Rashi said, no, okay. There's not okay, it's mutter. Where's the okay? So there's a vote from Reb Leivik that says, "Ve'ato im tisachatosam v'mayin." I don't care. I am for the Yidden. The Yidden see by me everything. And the Rebbe is moisif. Speaking about Gematria, so the Rebbe is moisif that this posuk is partial Lamed Beis and posuk Lamed Beis, Leiv. So Moshe Rabbeinu is the Leiv Sheisol, Melech Sheisol. So everything's around Moshe. So Moshe, I said earlier, for those who weren't here, especially from Nochamo, Hillel, Hakoyin, Katzman is Gematria Moshe. So we're going to ask that he has the name Moshe Hakoyin Katzman, to come and say a few words.
So I'm going to be very short, but I'll just give you guys a little insight on how this whole thing came about. This whole Beis Medrash. I bought my house in the late 90s, in 1998, right around the corner. And I needed a place with the daven shachris. So I found out that there's a shul here with a mikveh. It's open every morning from 7 o'clock. And there's a minyan. You can go to the mikveh, beautiful. So I come, go to the mikveh, go upstairs, daven. 7:25, the lights are out. Everybody leaves. There was maybe a minyan, maybe 11, 12 people, and it was over. Rest of the day, the shul was locked, closed, off premises. If you wanted to daven any other thing, you had to go across the street. When they opened up, it was a whole meiser. One day, I wake up when they changed the clock. I woke up by mistake an hour earlier, and I came to shul. And I'm sitting there looking, there's no one there. And a young man comes over to me and he says, "Oh, you're here, you're early, went to the mikveh, Minya's not starting for another hour. Let's learn." And this changed my life. This is Rabbi Hillel Foss. He came over to me and he asked me to come and learn. There's a lot of people in this community and everywhere that are walking the streets, that come to your shul, that are sitting next to you, in front of you, and they need someone, they're waiting for someone to invite them, to try to entice them, to bring them in to learn something, a shtickl chassidus, a blat gemara, and it could possibly change lives for a lot of younger life, a lot of older bachim. We have over here now a lot of apartments around the neighborhood that older bachim come here and sitting and learning. So we learned that day and it felt good, and we said, you know what? Let's continue learning. Every day we're going to come a half hour early. We're going to sit and learn, and we continue to do it. Everybody that's coming to the mini at 7 o'clock, coming 5-10 minutes earlier to get ready, coming to the shul, and they see two people are sitting and learning. After a little while, a lot of people said, "Spasnished. Why are these guys learning? What's with us?" And a shir started from that. The Moshe Tolshevsky, Moshe Klein, and a whole bunch of other people sat down and started learning the Rebbe's Mamarim. And there was a million of people sitting and learning. So we were learning and they were learning. And one thing led to another, Then we had the look at the Sicha shir, and then we started making the Shulchan Aruch shir Monday night. Then we said, why only one shir once a week? And a few years ago, we started doing the Chassidish Parsha shir every Thursday night. I started making Shalom. We had 15, 20 people coming every Thursday night learning. And Baruch Hashem, things have snowballed till this is what came out of all this. Baruch Hashem, now the shul could expand. Instead of just having 1 million 7 o'clock, we have a 6:30, a 7, a 7:45 million. We have Baruch Hashem every day mincha, or 2 million for minchas. We have 3 minyanim every night. And the shul is a happening place. We have lights outside, so it's actually protects the area, and it's not dark outside. The Gashmirs and Baruch Hashem. So this is where we are right now, and I think I just want to also say a special thank you to all the people that helped make this happen, which is all of the people, all the mispalim of Reim Ahuvim Tveres Menachem, because first of all, for giving us the space to do it. Obviously, we're using the space for the shul, and we're going to expand the shul now because the Ezes Nashim is going to move upstairs Shabbos, so our downstairs will expand. Everyone that gave money to it. So there's a few families that I just want to mention that gave a substantial amount of money, and we still have some more things we have to finish, but we're going to get it done. Rabbi Hillel Foss and his family, Israel Rappaport, Zalman Cousins and his family, Zalman Ozdaba. So make sure I'm not forgetting anybody. They're written down. I have 1 second. Well, I have them there. Who else am I missing? I have Heller help us out. Oh, Rabbi Kirsch. You're right. Rabbi Yehuda Kirsch and his family gave us, and everybody gave money and helped make this happen. This is a Beis Medrash by the community, for the community. Let's all keep it as our own. Use it often and come here and invite friends, invite people to come in and learn. Make shiurim and keep it like it's your own house. When you finish using the sefer, put it back. Keep the place clean. And we'll keep it growing. Thank you very much. I'd like to ask Menachem Mendel, Halevi Heller, to come make a sim so that we can finish the program. Thank you. Yeah, we're gonna have it. There is one down there, but he's not going to the direction. No, he knows for sure downstairs.
The Gemara at the end of Masechtas Brachos finishes Amar Reb Elazar, Amar Reb Chanina, Tamid Chachamim Ma'adim Shalom Ba'olam. Tamid Chachamim bring more shalom to the world. Shenemar B'chol B'nayach U'mudi Hashem V'Avshalom B'noyach. The taich is that your children are U'mudi Hashem, and your children also increase shalom in the world. But B'noyach, the Gemara says, I'll take you to Seiv Davening, I'll take you to B'noyach and B'noyach. The Tamid Chachamim are the ones that build the world. Another pasuk about Tamid Chachamim bringing shalom is Shalom Rav Havi Seirasechem Ein Lo Michshol. That there's a lot of shalom brought by the people that love the Torah and they don't have any michshol. So pshat in this is also that when you learn Torah by yourself, there could be a michshol because you can make a mistake. But shalom, when you have shalom between people and you learn together, so people can correct each other, then Ein Lo Michshol, you don't make mistakes. There should be shalom in your cities and in your palaces. There should be only shalom. Shalom means, for the sake of we should talk, and it should no means please. There should be shalom. The man Beis Hashem lekeinu avak shalom Hashem oiz lama yitin. David gives oiz strength to his nation. Hashem yivarech. Hashem blesses Ami v'shalom. Hadrin alam b'royev v'smiliko.
Thank you everyone for coming. Just one more thing I forgot to mention, very important. I have to thank my wife for giving me the help, and also, as it's standing right there, Rafi Halevi, which helped me do a lot of the work here. Thank you very much. Thank you. And thank you very much. Meyer? Yeah, we'll do Meyer downstairs now. Yeah.